you see people that are on the right, people that are on the left, and people in the center recognize that there's some pretty significant flaws in our criminal justice system as it's constituted now. Just this afternoon, for instance, it's going to be a big event at the White House talking about this federal criminal justice reform legislation. So you see people that call themselves conservatives from an economic perspective say, look, we can't afford to keep all these people in prison forever. You see people that call themselves sort of social conservatives, the Christian conservatives, want to do something about the number of people in prison from a forgiveness perspective, from a Christian theological point of view. And then you see folks that are on the traditional left saying that, wait a minute, by keeping someone in prison forever, not only are you depriving their family of a way to earn a living, but you're kind of repeating this cycle of incarceration, incarceration, incarceration. So the thing that's happening now, and I gotta tell you, I never really thought much about this until one senator asked the question, why is it that America has more people in prison than any country in the world? Is it because Americans are more wicked than any people anywhere else in the world? Probably not. So that got me thinking about it and seeing this unique bipartisan and nonpartisan cooperation at a time when there's nonpartisan and bipartisan cooperation on nothing. That kind of set the wheels in motion about actually coming forward with coming up with public policy prescriptions for policymakers. And you're going to hear a number of different suggestions today. The other thing that's happened over the course of the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years is you've seen the criminal justice issue become very much a local issue. Now, we think of crime in New York City as something that largely used to happen in the past tense. But what we've seen in New York City, not just in Rikers, but the city's jail system has become a national travesty. It's profiled on 60 Minutes as a cautionary tale. There are documentaries made about it. You see violence among inmates up. You see violence in terms of attacks on correction officers up. And you see a general recognition that Rikers Island has come to mean something wicked. And so we're going to discuss why that's the case, number one, and what the solution to that is. So what we hope everyone does here is learn a little bit more about a lot of the issues that the criminal justice system is facing from a national perspective, from a local perspective, and what we can do about it as policymakers, as citizens, as people in the media, and kind of where we go from here. My attitude was always sort of, all right, well, maybe we have a lot of people in prison, but they're in prison or they're in jail because they committed a crime. Well, you're going to hear about a lot of different twists on that same old thinking of criminal justice reform. So I'm going to ask James Quinn, who's a senior executive assistant district attorney in Queens, to come on up here and take a seat. Commissioner Bernard Carrick, who not only was a commissioner of the New York City Police Department, but of the New York City Department of Corrections. Elizabeth Gaines, who is president and CEO of the Osborne Association, who has studied this, which is a nonprofit group that she's been heading for decades, which has been studying and working with the effects of the incarcerated and their families and what it means. I'm going to ask Carlin Chan, who is, I wanted to make sure I had the right community board, who's a member of Community Board 3 in Manhattan and a longtime activist in Chinatown and an advocate in Chinatown. And it just so happens that as we talk about a plan moving towards borough-based jails, a lot of people are reluctant to have one on their block. We're going to discuss why that's the case. We're going to be joined momentarily by Elias Hussamadeen, who's the president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association, and by Akeem Browder, who's the head of the Khalif Browder Foundation. And you're going to learn, if you don't know already, the story of Khalif Browder and how that plays into the city's jail system. Actually, Akeem is here. I didn't realize Akeem was here. Come on up here. Akeem Browder, in addition to being the founder of the Khalif Browder Foundation, is the former Green Party nominee for mayor and, of course, the brother of Khalif Browder. And before I bring on our moderator, distinguished columnist for the Daily News, author and TV commentator Linda Stacy, I want to welcome Dr. David Turk, who is the Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs here at Nyack College.
Well, welcome to Nyack College, both panelists and members of the audience, and thank you to AM 970 for hosting this very important event. Nyack College knows that criminal justice reform must include educational opportunities for the incarcerated. Let me give you just a little bit of history.